Okay, just want to look at the time. I want to try and do stick. So, good morning, everyone. Pleasure being here. This is working here. All right. So, I think given what we have heard so far, the presentation title kind of fits in pretty well, right? I mean, the consumerization that we're seeing in financial services, we're seeing it in pretty much across the industries, but I want to talk about the consumerization aspect that we are seeing in the financial services business. Now, we all remember this. I wanted to share some examples to set the context. So we all remember this in 2007. On the left-hand side, the market leader, the biggest giant out there, and we had Steve Jobs launch the first phone, right? We all know what happened after that, right? And if you really look at it, we were talking about the best product in the telecom industry, and what Jobs ended up doing was creating a completely different consumer experience, right? That's what it's all about. And if you really think about it, the consumer experience led to a completely differentiated ecosystem that went about. And we see the impact of that today. If you were to just look back what this did, right? Just to highlight something, right? If you were to think about what are the time it takes in this digital world, to reach to 50 million users. And I'll give you some dated examples. Telephone industry took 75 years. iPhone itself took about 3 years. Pokemon, 19 days. There's another one I cannot speak about, but even faster. This is what is happening because of the era that we are living in and the possibilities around it, right? Now, we all know why this is important. Just want to highlight with a very interesting example that I found. We all remember Blockbuster, right? They were about these, this entire rental business. And in 2000, Netflix came about. And they were using digital in a little differentiated manner. But the fact also is, in the year 2006, Netflix actually went to Blockbuster with the proposition of getting acquired for about $50 million, which got rejected. And this is what happened after that, right? This is reality. I want to come to a very interesting example. So we all know Tesla, right? 2 years back, if some of you follow Tesla, 2 years back, Elon Musk had this big problem. He was building probably the most technologically advanced cars, what have you. I mean, whatever you can think of, right, in this new digital era. But when it came to the insurance companies, they were still underwriting these cars in the same manner as it would underwrite any other car, which meant completely differentiated premiums, very, very expensive. 2 years back, Elon Musk actually made a statement that if you insurers out there, you need to look at what we have created, and you need to look at my customers differently, their experiences, their requirements very differently. And if you do not do it, I will do it. And if you follow what happened 2 months back, Elon Musk actually made a public announcement that he's going to start an insurance company. This is reality. Another example is, we all talk about fintechs, but some of these fintechs in the banking, NBFC, we've been hearing about, the payments revolution. A lot of payment revolution that have been happening in India as well has been largely on the fintechs have been playing a lot of role in that. If you look at the traditional remittance business, and if you look at an organization called InstaRem, and look at so one is the digital experience that they come with. But the digital experience coupled with the cost that a customer or the remittance charges, it's phenomenally different ballgame. So these guys are making a huge impact. I mean, this is another example of what is happening. Now, we all hear about technology disruptions. We hear about terms and terminologies, but this is reality. We hear about neo-banks and neo-insurers. Effectively, neobanks, the way it is today, it is essentially nothing different than traditional banks in terms of products, but what is really different is the experience that they come with. In India, again, we have our first neobank. In fact, just 2 days back, it's called Neobank, N-I-Y-O. They have partnered with Yes Bank and Deutsche Bank. And they're actually catering to blue-collar workers primarily, and they have a few other products as well. What they really differentiate is on the experience side of it. They just got, last week, I think they've got a round of 35 million funding. These people are here to stay. The names I'm highlighting right on top, N26, Revolt, Monza, these are European and US neobanks. Within 4 years, these guys have got unicorn status. They're in the billion dollar club valuations. The right-hand side, guys, which is the neo insurers, they're actually making disruptions in the way insurance is being run today by traditional operators. They are launching products which are differentiated. Their processes are differentiated. The way they are, so the consumer experience coupled with differentiated underwriting principle itself is making a huge difference. Lemonade is a great example. I mean, I would request some of you to look up, especially the insurance folks. They're making a huge ripple in the US market, and at the same time, they're profitable, which is the other aspect. So consumer experience using technology, leading to innovations and disruptions that we heard from some of the speakers is here and now. It's happening. Sorry, what happened? Excuse me. Yeah. So on the left-hand side, we all know of GAFA, right? Google, Amazon, Facebook, Apple. We all know what they are capable of. Some of them have already started coming into the banking and financial services sectors. They may be operating somewhere in the payment space, but if you really look at it, these 4 players specifically, what they are known for, I spoke about Steve Jobs and what Apple did. What they're really known for is consumerization and consumer-driven, experience-driven, products and services. Can they make an impact if they were to formally come into some of these channels where we belong, or this industry belongs to? On the right-hand side, our neighbor, most talked about neighbor, China, Alibaba and Tencent. These 2 organizations, as you would know, started off as chats and social media platforms. Let me give you 2 years back statistics. This is not latest. Why is this happening? I'm sorry about this. If you No, it's not. Sorry about this, gentlemen. Yeah. Just want to highlight some of the statistics. This is 2 years back. Look at the numbers, look at the business these 2 giants are doing today. And I just want to highlight that with the GAFA example, right? If they were to come into this, and they are, we keep reading about their interest and, the way they're making inroads into some of these spaces, right? This is a slide, this is a McKinsey slide. I find this very interesting. What McKinsey is saying, a banking need, an insurance need, a loan need, for example, by the year 2025, 2028, it'll remain. That's not going to go away. But the banks, the insurers, and probably some of these institutions, the way they are today, may not remain by those years. This is what McKinsey says. What they're essentially saying is, when we look at, for example, if we were to look at wealth and protection as an area, it will have different components. It will have, some broking services. It may have some home loan services. But what the customer is going to experience is wealth and protection as a service. That's the way things are evolving, and this is what McKinsey's version is. And by the way, it's already happening. It's not just something for the future, it's already happening. Some of you may know about this South African insurer called Discovery. I wouldn't really call them an insurance company. They started way back, I think, late 90s. They started as a small insurer in South Africa. But what they do today, if you see, they are catering to the lifestyle needs of an individual. This is the extent to the personalization this organization is doing. And Discovery is already trying to make inroads into India with some of the existing insurance companies. They are in discussions with some of them. What they basically are doing is this, right? Now think about it. If you're an insurance company, and if you were to do something like this, where let's say there was a Fitbit appliance that you've given, or an Apple Watch you're giving as part of a policy or a cover, and it comes back to you, would you still behave and think like a traditional insurance player, or would you suddenly think that there is a supply chain element which traditionally had nothing to do with an insurance company, is something you need to think about? And as technologists, you would have to think about that. But more than that, what I'm trying to highlight here is, this is the way I think consumerization is evolving. It is about personalized needs. It is about those requirements and a one-stop shop, if possible, and in the mode and the ease at which they are expecting, the next generation is expecting. This is what it is. This is what it is effectively going to. This is where we are today, in a way. You die, we pay. You want to buy something, I'm going to give you money. You crash, I'll probably give you an insurance, money around it, which has essentially been a product-centric approach, whether we are a bank today or an insurance company today or what have you. It's moving more to the customer side of things. So what is changing is, we help you live longer. That's what Discovery is all about. Or we will manage your overall lifestyle better, right? You, your kids, your house, right? All of that put together. This is where definitely we see things moving. Just to give you an example, and before I come to this slide, when we at SAP, when we look at the way we are, so if you really look at SAP, what are we? We are actually manufacturers of IP. We are manufacturers of technology products and software, right? Essentially. We believe this is where things are going. So the way we are building our products, or for that matter, even some of the acquisitions SAP has been doing over the last few years, including the most recent one, I just wanted to touch upon that piece, which is very unique, is we are trying to look at our products and offerings in a mode where it is more consumerization driven, more digital is a given, but it's more going towards an area where you as our customers can focus more on consumerization. This is one slide I wanted to kind of just talk about. SAP recently acquired a company called Qualtrics. Very, very unique acquisition, about $8 billion. This is the only company that at least I know of which does user experience management. All those GAFA companies that you saw, they're all, by the way, been Qualtrics customers for many years. Now, it does many things, and I'm not going to get into product details, but essentially what are we talking about? We're saying you have the O with you, you have the operational data. I mean, we heard some of the earlier speakers talk about it and how to make meaningful insights. But I think what's really missing, now I'm a consumer at the end of the day. I have banking products, I have insurance products, I have loans. But I think what's lacking today is, do my providers, my bank, my insurer, do they really know what I'm thinking, right? What you as a bank know is probably, let's say, one of the problem statement is high attrition. Now, it may be a guesstimate of why that attrition is happening. How really do you understand the experience behavior of customers to look at the why part of it, right? This is something that we have started doing, and that's what this acquisition is all about, and we are building it right into our product strategies in terms of, because if you really look at it, SAP caters to 24 different industries. Banking, financial services happens to be just one of them. Utilities, manufacturing, all of that, right? So we're building that into our product strategies. And what is, so that's what. So imagine if you had this. Would you look at then how you build out your products, how you roll out your services in a little differentiated manner? Will you look at innovation a little differently? That's what we're trying to, basically highlight on this slide. Just 2 more slides on my part. Just wanted to put the context back. As I said, if you really look at an organization, right, there are essentially 2 aspects. One is your customer side of the story, which is where we're talking about what is the experience. The next generation or the current generation, even our kids, you don't need to teach them how to consume Facebook services, right? They definitely will not be happy if they were to be taught how to consume banking services. They would not. So the customer experience. The other part, I think, is equally important, is the employee experience. I think in a lot of times, I think that's one aspect which gets neglected, right? It's okay as long as, business is going on. I think the employee experience and the entire operational piece, whether it is, we had someone talk about data being the richest commodity today, how to really use that data and make meaningful insights and, more importantly, actionable insights out of that data, right? And obviously the entire operations, the finance, all of that put together. What we are today talking about is an intelligent enterprise which kind of puts all of this right at the core. SAP has evolved. It will be very interesting for you to know that today in SAP's global revenues, our ERP business, the ERP portion of our revenue is less than 20%. Most of you would attach SAP to ERP. Less than 20% is what we make. 80% of what our consumers are, looking at us for or working with us on didn't exist as a portfolio within SAP 10 years back. That's the amount of change we ourselves are getting into, and which is where we believe, whichever industry we're working with, we're looking at an intelligent enterprise to begin with, which means many things, and all of those things probably some of the earlier speakers spoke about. Sorry. And more importantly, think about it. Globally, it's a known fact that 70% of the world's transaction value goes through an SAP system, thanks to the ERP base that we have. 70%. We are here as technologists in a segment which is banking and finance, right? Imagine if we were to leverage that ecosystem, what that can possibly mean. I'll give you one example we do in this country. We have quite a few banks, some of you are here, where we use technology to connect and give corporate banking services around supply chain, for example. One of the reasons that works pretty well is most of these customers, which is on the other side, whom you're trying to service, runs SAP at their backend. It is much more easier to onboard them, right from onboarding to servicing them, and more importantly, probably the lowest cost of operation. The other thing, the myth I want to bust here is, SAP is associated with very high cost of operations. Not true. We had another speaker talk about Geo. Very interesting. We had a huge role to play on Geo, and we all know the scale at which they operate and the cost at which they operate. So it's not just about the technology and all of that, but it is also the cost at which you operate, and more importantly, the ecosystem play. If you're able to put all of these things together, along with obviously keeping your customer experience and your employee experience in mind, I think that's where we're going. That's the future. One last slide that I had is just a snapshot. Just a snapshot. I think sometimes I feel when I meet some of you is we are a very well-kept secret in the banking and financial services space. Just wanted to highlight. We work with most of you in some capacity or the other. I mean, if I take banking, we work with pretty much all banks, all public sector, private sector banks, various solutions, insurers, all regulators. Some of the solutions where we work are in the core of your business, right? If I were to take the lending solutions or, core policy solutions, the collections, disbursements kind of solutions. So we work a lot in the investment treasury kind of solutions. And also the cloud aspects. We have been extremely successful on the human capital transformation areas, the procurement transformation on the cloud being the buzzword. But that's another area where we've been extremely successful. Obviously goes without saying, the technology part of things, the analytics, big data, kind of areas. We have a lot of examples where we work on that. Just wanted to leave this one slide where I wanted to just take 30 seconds to talk about what we do in India. Myself, my colleagues, we're here. We look forward to interacting with each and every one of you. Do give us some time of yours. Thank you so much. And have a great conference. Thank you.